let's give everybody the table really quick, just so you know. Napoli's on top with 35 points. Milan's got 32, though they haven't won. They haven't won in their last 3, drawn 2 losses. Inter Milan, 31 points. Atalanta, 28. Roma, who won 1-0. Tammy Abraham notching that one over Torino, 25 points. Fiorentina, 21. Juve, 21. Lazio, 21. And I bring up Fiorentina, Juve, and Lazio on 21 because they are closer in points to the relegation zone than they are to the top of the table. They're 14 points away from Napoli.
From top 4.
14, it's crazy. But 14 points off the top of the table and only 11 points away from the relegation zone. I'd be a little nervous if I supported any 3 of those teams. But with regard to results, I'm actually pretty surprised with Lazio. Though Napoli came out fired and scored some tremendous goals and were just busy, I just thought I was going to see a little bit something different from Maurizio Sarri and his team, and they just never got a grip of the game, and it was done at halftime. It was done after 20 minutes. It was insane. With regard to Milan, I guess I'm fearful a little bit because at some point they weren't going to be able to keep up that 12 games unbeaten to start the season with 10 wins and 2 draws. That was just, for me,
Pioli's doing halftime substitutions
untenable.
Now. I think he did 2 of them. Like there seems to be a little bit of lack of trust. And again, maybe there's rotation there, but they're pretty much, they got an opportunity in Europe still, but the chances are very low for, I think, to go through. But Jimmy, by the way, with regard to that, it's a sad day when we're talking about the underperformers being Lazio and AC Milan, but Juventus are 7 points out of the top 4.
True.
Like Champions League spots that we're talking about with regard to Juventus. This is a team that won everything for a decade straight. And now we're talking about the fact that they might not make the top 4. Where they're at right now and the way that they're playing, the inconsistency, they're not a top 4 team in Serie A. And now that's not to discredit some of the other teams that are playing very well to fight for that Serie A, but it's not exactly a season. No one's undefeated anymore. No one's sort of running away other than Napoli in terms of their form. AC Milan hit a rough patch. Inter Milan are playing well again. Roma are staying tight. Atalanta are doing okay. But this is usually the context of a year where you have Juventus sitting way up top going, yeah. They're all having solid years, give or take somebody here and there. But we're out here. This is the bar that we're setting. None of you can catch us because none of you can get to this consistency. Now Juventus have to fight for their lives to make a top 4.
No, I just give everybody some fun facts. Juve's had a pretty bad week. They're coming off their heaviest defeat ever in the Champions League, 4-0 to Chelsea. They're being investigated for fraud right now. They obviously have that scandal in their past, which doesn't lend itself any favors, and the jokes just write themselves. And then, of course, Atalanta, losing to them 1-0 has been compounded by the injuries to Weston McKennie and Chiesa, who both had to come out of that game. So, for me, though, the Juventus thing, when I look at the results, I guess I'm just not surprised that Atalanta beat Juve. I'm pretty sure we were on the show on Thursday saying that we predicted that Atalanta would beat Juve for all the reasons that are kind of swirling around the club. So I'm not really that surprised. Now, them getting beat by Chelsea 4-0 was a bit of a surprise. Lazio, for me, getting beat 4-0 is a surprise. Milan, given their form, bit of a surprise. But the Juve team, not as much. And I don't know. It's a combination of things. One, they might be in that transition period where they've got some older guys that are maybe getting a little bit too old and some younger guys that maybe haven't taken on the same responsibility as they should, or they don't seem like a very balanced team in terms of the starting lineup. And then you have Maxi Allegri, who I think came in and was like, oh yeah, we're going to play a little bit more attacking. And then he realized that I need to be a little bit more defensive to get results, and has taken the fun out of it for some of these players. I think he's gotten kind of Diego Simeone-esque, even though Simeone, they scored 4 goals and a half against Cadiz and Atletico Madrid, but we'll get into them in a second. So Juve, I'm not surprised, and they're just in this weird transition phase where I don't think they know what their best 11 is. And when you don't know what your best 11 is, you lack identity.
Yeah. Do you think it's a player-based thing in the modern game? Do you think that there's a little bit of like, not just, I guess you're right. I mean, the identity could come from a system or style of play, but it's hard to know if that style of play works if you don't have an 11 that can execute that game plan, and it leaves you sort of tinkering with a back 3, back 4, 4-5-1, 4-4-2, 3-3-1, whatever. And so, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was kind of working through my thoughts there.
No, it's fine. I mean, that's the cool part about doing the podcast, is that we can work through our thoughts on this. I thought Dybala was pretty sharp, all things considered. It's not like Bonucci was okay too. It's not like they're that bad. It's just, it's hard to say. I mean, there was only 3 shots on goal combined for both teams in this game. Not a big surprise. And we knew that Atalanta, needed to kind of tighten things up defensively, and they did, getting a clean sheet. But
yeah, and it was a two pass turnover to a goal to beat Juventus. And if that's all it takes to beat Juventus, then teams are going to just fight it out. And obviously Dybala had an opportunity that was just off the bar, just wide of the bar, and a free kick. But it wasn't like that they were outplayed, but it just took one, and then Atalanta got that goal. Once Atalanta got that goal, they just said, okay, we're going to make it hell for you, and we're willing to suffer to get these points. And at that point, you expect Juventus to have a lot more energy and a lot more emphasis and take more risks. But instead, it was just a little lackluster. And again, when I think about this, Jimmy, and I think about Weston McKennie and the role that they're asking him there, I don't see him as a true attacking player. I see him as an 8, an 8.5, maybe. That's a late runner in the box that can combine, that can score your goals. But when I think about the fact of what the expectation is for him from an attacking standpoint, it does make me worry that perhaps they don't have anybody else that they're looking to, and that he's one of the few that they're like, well, we're going to need more goals out of him. Granted, he's a starter for a team called Juventus, which is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and he should be able to contribute more if he's in an advanced position or playing in an advanced position. But when I think about that and how I see him versus what they want from him, I'm like, man, maybe they are a little desperate in terms of the expectations and what they're trying to get from their players on the field. But maybe we should be holding him to a higher standard as well.
I don't know. I'd love to pick his brain, to be honest, because when I see where he's set up, they have him out wide right in a traditional 4-4-2. But we know that Juan Cuadrado is going to be the guy that's kind of the up and down. That's going to create the width for the team, which allows him to actually pinch in and find that space to, or really identify where the space is, the half spaces between the lines to pick up the ball. And he does actually, I think, run a little bit more forward for Juve than he does, or at least he's expected to than the US. It's interesting. I'd love to, even if we can't get him on the show, I'd like to just hear his thoughts. If we could if we could get to him, that would be a lot of fun.